the Cavite Mutiny. So, there are four versions related to the Cavite Mutiny. First, the Jose Montero E. Vidal and Governor General Rafael Iscordo versions. So, actually, balituhan na ni siya ka versions dahil hindi usaran ni siya. So, Jose Montero E. Vidal and Governor General Rafael Iscordo were two versions of the same writer who chronicled the events that lead to the independence of the Philippines from Spain in 1779. In his documentation of this event, Jose Montero referred to it as a revolution, an attempt by the Indians to topple down the Spanish government in the Philippines. In the report submitted by these high school Spaniards, they stated that the primary reason for the revolution was their privileges. Then, they also pointed to the following reason as aggravating factors in the revolution. The revolution in Spain, which overthrew what they referred to the secular throne. The black propaganda resorted to the unrestrained press, books, and pamphlets containing democratic articles that made their way to the Philippines. And most importantly, the native race. Because of their dislike of the prayers, they plotted and helped the rebels and enemies of Spain to blame the unruly Spanish press for stockpiling malicious propaganda. In his report to the Spanish king, Iscordo pointed to the intention of the rebels to topple the Spanish government in order to put into power a new king in the person of Father Jose Burgos and Father Jacinto Zamora. It stresses in his report that the Filipino press urged the natives to support the revolution, of which they were assured of victory since God was on their side. Iscordo mentioned in his report that the Indians were possessed by the natural tendency to steal. He added that the Filipino priests promised the natives that when they won, those who joined in the revolution would be rewarded with jobs, wealth, and promotion in the army. Both Montero and Iscordo believe that the Cavite Mutiny of 1872 was planned earlier. According to the reports, the conspirators from Manila and Cavite planned to assassinate the top Spanish officials, followed by the murder of the friars. They stated that the signal of the revolution would come. So, ang ilang signal na gihuwat is ang fireworks. Then, kung mag-start na ito ang fireworks, mahitabo na revolution na ilang gihuwat. Next version, the Trinidad Pardo de Tavera version. From the point of view of Trinidad Pardo de Tavera, the Cavite event was just a mutiny. The natives, soldiers, and workers in the Cavite arsenal who were disheartened because of the removal of the privileges which they used to enjoy earlier. The report of Tavera stated that on January 20, 1872, about 200 men comprised of soldiers, laborers of the arsenal, and residents of the Cavite, headed by Sergeant Lamadrid Rose, in arms and assassinated the commanding officer and Spanish officers inside. Tavera was convinced that Iscordo used the Cavite Mutiny as an attempt of the Filipinos to topple down the Spanish government and presented it as a blown-up conspiracy involving not only soldiers but also natives of Manila and Cavite, most specifically priests. He put the blame on Iscordo for his policies, such as the removal of the privileges of the arsenal soldiers and workers and the prohibition to put up a school of arts and trends for the Filipinos. Last but not the least is the Edmond Plaquet version. Version Edmond Plaquet in 1877. Edmond Plaquet, a freshman who was residing in Manila at the time the event happened, publishes his version of the KV Milan. The Cavite Mutiny arose from the dissatisfaction of the arsenal workers and soldiers in the Cavite fort, which stemmed from the governor's Iscordo's order, which exacted taxes from the Filipino laborers in the engineering and artillery corps in the Cavite arsenal and required them to perform forced labor from which they had previously been exempted. So, the full version related to the Cavite Mutiny is first, the Jose Montero y Vidal version. Second, the Governor General Rafael Iscordo version. And then third is the Trinidad Pardo de Tavera